on actually doing some very basic modeling, you want to know some fundamental terminology. I've already talked a little bit about mesh and what a mesh is. It's just another word for a 3D model. A particular type of 3D model actually that's made up of vertices, edges, faces, and what's called a normal. So the vertice, if I just switch into edit mode here and click down here on vertex select, which is this one, it's by default, and I can right click on any one of these little black dots. Okay, they'll highlight in orange and they'll kind of show little orange pathways where that vertice connects to. So this is a single vertex, and this vertex here is like a point that contains information about the model. An edge is an edge or a line that connects two vertexes. Okay, it always connects two vertices. So 1, 2. And a face is a solid that fills up the gap between different edges and vertices. This is another name for a face, is a polygon. And it always has 3 or more sides. Generally in Blender, you want to work with what are called quads. It makes texturing a lot easier. It makes a lot of things a lot easier when you're modeling. And when you export this model, say we were to export it to something like Unity, or we wanted to use it in Unity or Unreal Development Kit. As we export it, Blender would slice up these quads in half and turn them into triangles, because the computer can calculate triangulation or triangles very, very, very quickly. It's a little bit more complicated to do quads, so it just halves them all. But working with quads, which is a 4-sided object, is much easier for us. We can work with objects that have more than 4 sides, but then that gets to be a bit more complicated. So even if it's represented in here with more than 4 sides, generally Blender is behind the scenes just cutting it up into quads and triangles. So a face, another name for a face, is a polygon, and the faces have these little black dots in the middle of them. If you ever see black dots on the side here, and I'll just quickly demonstrate what I mean, this means that you have somehow extruded the shape and you've actually got extra faces in here that are hidden. You don't want that because it can make modeling really complicated. So if you see that anytime and you see how those faces were hidden there, you just can kind of Control Z. There are other ways to get rid of it if it's not working out for you later. And lastly, there is what is called the normal. The normals are hidden at the moment, and off the top of my head, I don't know how to show them. I think it might be view. Nope. I'll find it for, I don't really need to view them at the moment. Let's see. Might be down here. I just pushed N to bring this out, but you generally won't need this a whole lot. Display. Nah, I can't see it. It's probably there, but there's so many different options in Blender that I'm just going to ignore it for now. But what normals are is these faces here are all one-sided. And the normal just tells Blender or tells the 3D program which side it's facing. If I was to show them, there would just be a little line coming out of it, pointing in the direction that the face is showing. And so I would have one little line coming out of each of these faces because they're all showing the right way. But if they were showing inside out, these faces would be darker and the line would be pointing inwards. I wouldn't be able to see the line, so I'd know that that face is back to front. In Blender, I would still see it, but it would show up as like really dark, almost black, or maybe like a blue color. These are all fine. But in a 3D rendering program, it would show as invisible. So it just wouldn't render at all because it can't see, there's nothing there. So these faces only show up if the normals are correct. You won't need to worry about that too much. If I notice something wrong with your model, you've exported something, I can probably actually just do it here. Okay, so see how that face in there is black? That means if I was to render this in a program, like even just export it to Unity, that would be invisible. Okay, you'd just be able to see straight through it, through the other side. And So with these sides here. And pretty much the whole model now. I've wrecked it. So I'll just take it back to normal. Just complete that sheet on 3D fundamentals. So vertex, edge, face, and normal.